Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back. Welcoming you to Post-Fight Show with Stormy B Man for this now Monday morning, May 3rd, 2026. This is the Post-Fight Show for Benavidez versus Zurdo for the Cruiserweight title, which took place on the Zone. I got it wrong in my description box where I said it was Amazon Prime, but it was PBC pay-per-view, but not Amazon Prime. It was on the Zone. Welcome, everybody. I hope that you had a great Saturday of boxing, where we saw boxing from the wee hours of the morning from Japan all the way through the afternoon, visiting the UK, and through the evening stateside, where the main card, which this post-fight show is about, took place. From Las Vegas, we're talking the T-Mobile Arena, which was packed. And let me just start off by saying that this is one of the best cards that I've seen in quite a long time. Action-wise, there was so much taking place that until we saw both the main and the fight before the co-main, it looked like it could be a night of upset. So we were well within the point of seeing what was transpiring to be quite an entertaining evening. I hope that you all were equally as entertained as we had a chance to witness some of the best back and forth, toe-to-toe action for Cinco de Mayo. Listen, boxing was served up on a platter this evening. I can only ask, did you enjoy it as much as what we had a chance to witness? It was something else, man. Something else. So here we are. I had delayed the broadcast of this to another, I want to say about 8 minutes, but we didn't expect things to go down as they did, where we saw Benavidez prevail, winning with a 6-round KO stoppage of Zurdo. Benavidez has shown himself to be a prodigy who has come along in the sport, grew up sparring with professionals, world-renowned, world-class fighters. And he was able to bring all of that experience with him into his performance this evening. Great fight. Great fight. Great performance, even more, by Benavidez. Zurdo proved to be not only older at 34, but slower, and possibly had hit his ceiling by moving out of the light heavyweight division and up to cruiserweight. Amazingly, Benavidez has put on display that he has retained his hand speed at cruiser. There will be some conversation about what should be next for him, but let's just start by giving him his credit and just due for the performance that he put on this evening. I was quite impressed with how he handled Ramirez. He went after him. He didn't show that respect of we're familiar with it, one another and everything. He actually went for Zurdo. And I had a feeling that Zurdo was not going to approach the bout in the same regard like Benavidez did. And it turned out to be a big mistake. I don't even know that Zurdo had a game plan, because the way he performed, it didn't look like he knew exactly how to go after David. But it did appear that David had a game plan. And one of those, which I've already spoken about, is the display of his hand speed. Knowing that he has the fast twitch muscles and everything to get his punches off, he took great advantage over Zurdo being slower and more cumbersome in there. And toward the end of the first round, when he let off a rapid fire series of punches that seemed to stun Zurdo, I knew it was only going to be a matter of time. He had enough power to rock and shake and put Zurdo on his heels. dropping him in the 4th round, where Zurdo basically took a knee. He didn't look like he wanted to be there. But Benavidez, understanding that Zurdo was so much of a bigger man, he had to be cautious. He did absorb some shots. You could see that Zurdo's size was imposing on him as well. This is the first time I've seen in a fight where someone had Benavidez on the back foot and basically had him up against the ropes a couple of times, but was not able to capitalize on those moments, which is why I said it appeared that Zurdo didn't have a game plan. And I wasn't really able to hear many instructions when the cameras went to the corners. They weren't mic'd up well where you could hear what particular strategies may have been coming from the Ramirez corner. Benavidez's dad and brother were calmly working with him, doing what they normally do. And I'm certain that they had their plan already and the boxes prepared to be check marked as they went through the paces. It's really a big difference when you can see a capable corner as opposed to one that is either lacking in inexperienced or one that is just not up to par. Malik Scott being in Zurdo's corner and that other gentleman that is the lead trainer, they had no answers. And I believe when the fight was signed that they didn't have answers. Let me acknowledge the brothers we have over in the chat with Universal Truth, Chinmuko, and TD Sports Talk. Shamar Livingston just came into the building. What's good with you? Good to see you guys. Over on the YouTube side of things, we got Royal Constrictor, Stephen L. Lamack, J Man is in the building, Chill Town is out there, Jimmy Bernard, Bernard Gilbert, J Rock, T Berry, where you been? And Thomas is in both chats. I appreciate you, Thomas, for showing up. Yeah. This was a performance by David that he needed something like this. He needed a breakout where not only was he the featured fighter, but he needed the eyes upon him. Black Martial Arts Society, what's good with you? Salute to you. He needed eyes upon him because he has been, Stephen L., I see you over there in Rumble as well, for the exposure and the performance. You see, Canelo froze him out for so many years. Do you guys realize that he was Canelo's #1 contender for at least 4 years? Seriously, at 168. He fought in numerous title eliminators as the WBC held him to the side. But Canelo would not face him. But he had an opportunity this evening to show the world. And on Cinco de Mayo, listen, let it just be said. Being patient paid off for him. When he decided to go on about his career and to stop trying to chase after Canelo, things began to switch up and move for him. When he moved up to light heavyweight and began to focus on achieving title status there, his fight against David Morrell, which was a competitive bout, but his experience brought him through under those auspices, and he was able to prevail and ascend toward the title. Great stuff. Great stuff. But when he looked and had an opportunity to win a title in another division, a third division of Cruiserweight, with his old nemesis and former sparring partner in Zurdo Ramirez, he jumped at that opportunity. And that was good stuff, because you know what? Ramirez was respected. He was, even though I always felt he was a little bit limited. But see, sometimes you need someone so you could take that next step, and that's what he did. Ramirez delivered that for Benavidez. The WBA and WBO titles for Cruiserweight division are his now, along with the WBC for light heavyweight. He has an interesting decision to make, whether he's going to drop down to light heavy, as he stated that he would during the promotion of this match. But the options are there. A formidable performing fighter that his path looks clear, because there's not a lot of people at Cruiserweight, and at light heavyweight you still have Bivol, Bitterbeef, and a couple of others who are kind of milling about the division. But it's a nice problem to have. Okay, Chimoku says, it's me, Iraq. Okay, I see you. Salute to you. Jonathan Simon, the messenger, is out there as well. Salute to you guys. Man, what can be said about his performance? I mean, he won every round, put Zurdo down a couple of times. And did you see Zurdo's eye when the fight was finally stopped? Man, he looked like he had been 12 rounds, battered. He really put a whipping on him. For anyone thinking that I might have some heavy critique for David on this evening, I do not. It's all accolades and acknowledgments for him, because he performed admirably. I have to give it to him. My hat is off to the young man. And he seems to have really grown since he was having those issues when he was the youngest 168-pound super middleweight titleist in boxing in the history of the division. You know, he first had his title taken away, stripped, due to testing positive for recreational substances. But he achieved becoming a two-time titleist in the division, and then lost the title once again on the scales during the time when we were under a plague of circumstances for society. And that's how he lost that title second time. And then the WBC allowed Canelo to sweep in and scoop that title up, and held on to it without giving him a shot for over 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So when we look at how things went down, he had to go a long route to get to recognition and acknowledgement. And that's exactly what he's been able to do. This card was stacked with great fights of competitive natured circumstances. Opening up with Isaac Lucero and Ismael Flores. Man, what a fight that was, where we had a chance to see Lucero and Flores combat one another. Flores took the fight to Lucero and pretty much battered him to a unanimous decision. Very good super welterweight bout there. And then, of course, Jorge Chavez against Jose Sanchez, Tito Sanchez. Super bantamweights, where that fight turned out to be one heck of a humdinger, man. Let me tell you something about that fight there. Chavez came into the fight the favorite, and he had pretty damn good lateral movement and footwork against the slower of foot Sanchez. But he couldn't keep up the boxing for the duration of the bout, scheduled for 10 rounds. Sanchez forced the in-fight situation, where not only was he scoring at will on the inside with his in-fighting, but it began to take away Chavez's boxing. And when he switched to southpaw on Chavez, that took away Chavez's jab, which was scoring mightily early in the fight. This was great because you saw two different type of fighters, conflicting styles, boxer against slugger. And the slugger prevailed, not because he had knockout power, but because he fought strategically, tactically, the correct way. I have a true appreciation for what Flores was able to do in this matchup. He really took the fight away from Chavez, took it away from him. Armando Resendez ran into issues at super middleweight with Jaime Munguia. Munguia was well prepared for Resendez. He fought right out of the gate, Munguia did, taking an aggressive approach to the fight, putting Resendez on the defensive. Resendez, who's had opportunities in against the likes of Caleb Plant, Elijah Garcia, and Jared Hurd, where he lost to Garcia, but the other bouts he did win. he was never really in this fight with Jaime fighting the way he did. Jaime really boxed very well in there, and his 6-foot frame towering over Resendez, he was able to use his 72-inch reach to his advantage. He had a lot of pop on his shots. He seemed to have good stamina, but I say seemed because he is now fighting out of the Reynoso camp, and we do know some questionable circumstances have stemmed from that particular camp, including with the great Canelo Alvarez. So, who knows if that was Jaime just being in great shape or if he had a little bit of help. But one thing's for certain, Resendez wasn't able to solve the problem that Munguia presented to him. He gave it a shot here and there, but I really believe that he opted to not try to put himself at risk to be stopped or hurt, knocked down, that kind of thing. So he fought within himself a disciplined effort, but not really opening things up like we saw in some of the other matches. Because that Chavez-Sanchez fight and the Flores-Lucero fight, they gave us a great deal of back and forth and interchanging, as well as guys going for broke. I often speak about that because when you see guys that are really going for it, like in those two bouts, that victory is truly earned and not gifted. But Jaime boxed very well against Resendez and is now a champion for the second time, a titleist for the second time. I don't know if he's going to look to get right back in there again. I think that was for the WBA super middleweight title. Jaime gave a great effort, though. He did. I have to give him the credit because he outboxed him. He outpunched him. He forced Resendez on the back foot in some instances and kept him from getting into any specific rhythm. Now, the Tijuana-based Munguia is 29 years of age, entering a prime, even though he has 1,000 fights, 46 wins, 2 losses, and 35 KOs. The fact that he fought on this card tonight was a feather in the cap for him because some people had tried to position Jaime in the stead of being the next heir apparent Mexican fighter. But having turned down so many opportunities against top-notch opposition, former title challengers, as well as title opportunities from title holders, you kind of wonder what was Jaime waiting on. But he finally made it. Now, the Oscar Duarte fight, where he took on Angel Fierro. Listen, this fight was really weird. Duarte came out in this match looking like a guy that was kind of in a different place mentally. He didn't seemingly appear to be with it. And this was for the WBC Silver Super Lightweight and WBO NABO Super Lightweight titles. And Ferrero, who decided to give us a different appearance of himself by shaving his head, which looked like he did it today, the day of the fight. You know, I don't know. I didn't check the weigh-in out. Does anyone know if he came bald-headed to the weigh-in yesterday? Because he looked like he had a fresh haircut. And, you know, it was fresh because the top of his scalp didn't match the rest of his skin color on his body. He looked like he had been scalped by the Mohicans. But Ferrero boxed a pretty darn good fight. He came into this fight reputed as a dirty guy. You know what I'm saying? Elbows and low blows, and known to be that kind of dude. Well, Duarte was probably expecting a slugfest. Fierro boxed him, and boxed him very well. It was interesting how it played out because many people thought that Fierro should have won a decision. It was a split decision for Duarte. Fierro was sticking and moving, throwing combinations every once in a while, fighting on the inside. He even shook Duarte once that made it look like Duarte may go down. It was very much an action-packed fight. He didn't stick around for any, you know, ring interviews or anything when the decision was announced. He left immediately. Duarte said he felt that he won the fight, but there was an issue because of the weigh-in. Duarte, who had an issue just a couple of months back when he was supposed to be facing Richardson Hitchens, who the day of their weigh-in, Hitchens pulled out with heart problems, and kind of left Duarte standing there with no opponent. So of course he was ready to come into this fight, but Fierro decided to not make the lightweight, super lightweight limit of 140. He came in 3.5 pounds over at the weigh-in, did Fierro, which meant that he couldn't win those titles that were on the line. But he gave a good effort. And even though the fight was very close, Duarte said in the ring interview after the bout, he said, listen, the guy didn't have the discipline to make the weight. So he thinks he should have got this decision. He was like, how could they give him a decision and he didn't even have the discipline to honor the contract? And I kind of agree with that. But referee Mark Nelson, Patricia Morris, Jarman, David Sutherland, and Steve Weisfeld all felt that Duarte did enough. And so therefore, Fierro left without any hardware. Yeah. So we're talking about a night of boxing that was pretty darn good. Amazon Prime, pay-per-view, and DAZN delivered. They delivered. Stephen L., are you still in the Rumble? Please help me out with this person who decided to spam my chat with links. forever. Handle that business. Forever. See, when we get rid of people like that, select the option of forever, please, because I don't want them back. You understand? That's what we do. No spamming. Aladdin Saddam, what's good with you? I see you over there on the YouTube side. Joe Townsend, what's good with you? Salute to you as well, brother. Antonio MMA, what's good? Antonio, you need to follow me on Rumble, bro. Follow me over there to Rumble. DLP, what's good with you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now that I've covered Benavidez versus Zurdo, listen, overall, a wonderful card. I rate this card maybe 8.5 or 9 out of 10. It was that good. It was that good. But there was a card from earlier in the afternoon, also broadcast on the Zone. And let me just say, man, listen, this is why I tell you guys to watch boxing, man. Watch boxing, because you will be impressed with what can happen inside the square jungle. Connor Walker and Sam Eggington fought in a scheduled 12-rounder at super welterweight. These are British, European, UK level fighters who, for the environment where they fight out of, they give the fans what they like. This has to be the slugfest of the year. Okay? Connor Walker, who amazingly came off of a December 2025 victory over Pat McCormick, where McCormick was up and coming and he stopped McCormick because Walker is 30 years of age. Now, Eggington is 32, but the two of these men came together for this particular fight. Let me tell you something about this fight right here. It was a Donnybrook. It was a Pier 6. It was a brawling type of a matchup where Walker, who was the lead coming into this fight, faced Eggington, who turned out to be the real puncher in the fight between the two. But these two men, you guys, fought one of the best back and forth type bouts. It was so entertaining. Listen, Eggington was starting to show wear and tear on his face. The shorter Walker was on him like a bad suit. I mean, he was on him. He forced the fight. And it was very entertaining, you guys. Very entertaining. He put Eggington down finally in the 8th round. They were both cut, I think, from both punches and head clashes. But in the 10th round, Conor Walker put some pressure on Eggington that took him out and saw him collapse and fall to pieces. I hit up a couple of brothers. I said, I hope you guys are watching this fight, man. Because this fight is like everything that people want to see when they tune in to watch boxing. It was that doggone good. It was. J-Man says, I missed this one. Damn. Listen, bro, if you have the zone, please go back and watch this fight. Go back and watch it, man, because my words are not gonna say enough. But you will understand after watching the fight yourself. You're gonna be like, oh, this is what Stormy was talking about. Absolutely, man. This was one of those doggone matches, man, that like I said, if you like to see people get in the thick of it, that's what these guys did. They were short on talent, but long on heart, determination, grit, and will. And one of them had their will bent, but not because they were cowering or because they were inadequate or anything like that. No, this was because of the damage that was suffered in the fight. I mean, if you've got a fighter, you don't want your fighter fighting like this every time out, because the career is going to be very short. But my goodness, this was a doggone good fight. And I am so glad that I tuned into it, because I remember that sometimes the brothers in the community, they don't be watching these guys, right? And they like, oh, it's like, okay, they have bias. Okay, that's fine. But it's boxing, right? And you see that this card was called Trenches. Boy, that's exactly what it was. These guys fought in the trenches, man. They did. Absolutely. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. This is one of those bouts that you could put on and be like, you know what? I feel like watching a slugfest. And you'll get entertained each and every time as you tune into it. Because these guys were really, really performing, man. Yeah. Great stuff, man. And that doggone Conor Walker, let me tell you guys something. Anyone who has a title, if they selected him, they're going to be in a doggone fight, man. Yeah, somebody might be more skilled, more athletic, fast twitch muscles, good footwork, and all of that kind of stuff. But this guy will put you in a blender kind of walking. And he is a fighter. A good one. His record now is 18 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, and 9 KOs. But let me tell you something. He's a tough cookie. His losses are against Lewis Crocker from June of 2024, Kane Gardner from March of 2023, and Samuel Antwi from February of 2022. Yeah. So you fight this kid, Walker, you are in a match, man. You're in a match. They had some interesting fights on the undercard there. Bilal Fawaz, who is a super welterweight, took on Ryan Kelly. And Kelly was the puncher in this fight. But Fawaz, who's kind of a weird posturing, stoic type dude, he's doing this unorthodox stuff. He just comes across as kind of goofy, kind of weird. Goofy by Western standards, but over there, he's serious about going about his work, but I don't know. But he was able to get to Ryan Kelly and stop him in the 9th round. But he's unorthodox, strong, but he doesn't have that aggressive nature like I'm gonna knock you out. It's just that he's strong and he kind of plays with his food a little bit with these antics of posturing and stuff like that, but he'll get the job done. He wore Kelly down and stopped him. But Kelly was definitely in the fight. Great action. And there was a bout between some featherweights, some ladies on there. Tia Mai Ayton and Stevie Levy. Those two, they took on one another. It was interesting. And then there was another ladies bout on this card. Shannon Ryan. And they were super flyweights, took on Nicola Hopewell. That was a good fight. But the ladies are starting to step up in boxing. I've talked about this. But overall, it was a decent card for the early afternoon for us stateside, because over there, of course, it was nighttime in the UK. But, you know, it was worth checking it out. Now, of course, early in the wee hours of the morning, the monster, Inoue, took on Junto Nakatani. This was a fight that was highly anticipated. People were, hedging bets and everything of what would happen in this. But it didn't deliver quite the action that we thought. From the Tokyo Dome in Japan, the same stadium where James Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson back in February of 1990. The upset of the century happened in the Tokyo Dome. And it was just opening up at that time. So that was like one of the major events there. They had a couple of concerts there, but not a heavyweight title fight. And that's where Mike Tyson lost his undisputed heavyweight title. Yeah. So Inoue took on Junto, and it was for his undisputed super bantamweight titles. Both men had entered the bout 32-0. I think that Junto had how many knockouts on his record did he have? 24. And out of 32 victories. And Monster had 27 out of his 32. Monster is the elder statesman at 33, and Junto is 29, I believe. So here they were facing one another. Junto is 28. Turned out to be a tactical fight. Inoue was leaping in and out with his shots, scoring pretty much at will. Junto was very hesitant for the first 4 to 5 rounds. He was doing little to nothing. He finally began to step up and start giving an effort by round 6 or 7. But he had put so many in the bank, Inoue, that he was really starting to coast at that time. These two clashed heads several times during the match, once finally opening up a cut late in the fight over Junto's eye. And once he suffered that cut, he began to kind of be distracted by it. Junto did not take any risks in this fight. It was unbelievable that he had opportunities in front of him to utilize the reach advantage he has. Someone remarked while I was watching the fight, someone remarked that he looked like a praying mantis with his stance because he has long arms and legs, and Inoue was the shorter guy. But Inoue was able to get in with leaping in with punches to the body, jabs, straight rights to the body and everything. And he basically just outclassed Junto. Many people thought that this fight would be a lot closer than it was. So did I. But, and I had remarked in my pre-fight breakdown, I said, Junto knows how to control range and distance, and if he's able to do that with Monster, this should be a good opportunity for him, to upset the Monster. But guess what? He wasn't active enough. He didn't do the things he needed to do. I don't know if it was because he felt some of Monster's power and became apprehensive, or if he just froze, like in Black Panther when they were telling T'Challa that don't freeze. He's like, I never freeze. Well, maybe Junto froze, huh? And that was that. Yeah. J-Man says, might have been the weakest fight compared to all the other fights we've covered. Yeah, you know, it was a letdown because it had the potential to be a barn burner, right? The two top guys in Japan, the two top guys at that weight, and the two top guys as far as the undefeated records with knockouts and everything. And they really laid an egg. Neither guy looked close to knocking the other guy out. And I have since heard in the aftermath that there's a possibility that Junto may have suffered a fractured orbital bone or something as a result of them having clashed heads or whatever. Hopefully that's not the case, but if it did, you know what I mean? All I was saying about Junto as I watched the fight, I was like, dude, you got to let your hands go. If you expect to win this fight, you got to throw some doggone punches, man. He wasn't punching enough, Junto. A lot of posing and posturing. A lot of feinting one another. And that's not going to get it done. That's just not going to get it done. You got to let your hands go. And against a guy like Inoue, who doesn't have the best defense in the world, if you throw your punches, you get the chance to stop the dude. But what do I know? I'm just Stormy B-Man over here, you know? So, but it is something that he could have done, and that was to pick up his own activity, and he didn't elect to do that. So it's kind of unfortunate that he wasn't able to finish the dude off or try to finish him off, you know? I think they recognized that how early in the morning this fight was going to be. So they kind of pushed the card. If I'm not mistaken, it was like around 6 a.m. or something when they went to the ring. So typically that happens a little earlier than that, but they had an additional bout before the main event. And that pushed the time slot back. I think they wanted to get as many eyes on the match as possible, which is understandable. But Junto, overall, I felt put in a dismal performance. He didn't do the things that people were excited about him attempting to do. At the end of the day, I think he had a little bit too much respect for Monster, like a big brother type deal. They smiled at each other and tapped gloves several times. You know, I don't know. It wasn't like Benavidez and Zurdo, where Benavidez treated Zurdo like an older brother that he's going to kick his butt. I wish that Junto had approached with that type of disposition. It would have made all the difference in the world. Jamal Davis, I see you just popped up in the Rumble. Appreciate you. Yeah. So we got a lot of fights coming up, you guys. A lot of fights. I talked about it on the Friday night chop session. We got so many cards coming up for the month of May. It's just freaking ridiculous how many fight cards are coming. And beginning next weekend, we got more. I think next weekend we got Wardley versus Dubois. Huh? How about that? Are you guys ready for that? Wardley and Dubois. Let me see if I can pull something up for you guys. Yeah, hold on 1 second, family. Let's see here. Come on. I be trying to set stuff up so I can show you guys things. You know? But this is what I wanted to put up on the screen for you. I wanted to put this image up of the fight poster for Wardley and Dubois. They're calling it Don't Blink. Just think about that. These two dudes, man. They are knockout artists between the two of them. Messengers say, I've been up since 6 a.m. Yeah, man. And it's late, you know, and I'm not going to keep you guys too much longer. Von D, what's going on? Yeah. But Fabio, let me tell you something about that young man. He's going to teach the world how to respect him and his accomplishments, because they're looking everywhere except for at him to answer the questions of the heavyweight division for the UK representation. And I'm going to tell you something. This is the guy that you kind of want to look at, because he's got the right mindset, he's got the right character, and he has the right desire. When they asked him about why did he pick Daniel Dubois to fight, he was like, because I wanted someone that is going to continue to test me and someone who is at a certain level. I didn't want any pushovers or anything like that. Daniel was a tough fight. He said, we sparred many years ago, and that was way when I first got into boxing and everything. He's like, but he has since gotten better and become a world titleist and lost it and everything. And here I am now, a world titleist myself. So why not test myself against that type of pedigree? And I take my hat off to Fabio, because Fabio is speaking to the heart and ear of people who want to see the best fight the best. And they're continuing to look at other fighters in other places instead of looking at what they have homegrown in Wardley and his abilities. And I believe that's one of the major reasons why he's going to continue to be successful, because as they look high and low and through the forest and the trees, they don't recognize what's right in front of their faces. Yeah. It's going to make all the difference in the world, man. It's going to make all the difference in the world. So, you know. So that's coming up next Saturday. Don't blink. These two heavyweights, man, let me tell you something. There's going to be some knockdowns and knockouts in this fight. I'm telling you, this fight ain't going the distance. If it goes the distance, I would be surprised. Yeah. They are going to really have something to entertain the masses with. And that fight will be at the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, UK. David Morrell is fighting on that undercard. He'll be taking on Zach Chelly, who's from the UK, I believe, as well. Zach brings a record of 16 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. And of course, Morrell is 12-1. That 1 loss coming to a decision loss to David Benavidez from February of last year. So yeah, we'll see. So be prepared for some good fighting, you guys. Be prepared. But I'm going to get ready to get on out of here, you guys. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Some of you didn't hit the like button, but you know, you can choose to hit the like button or not. Just know that when we do these shows, it's for you guys, you know, trying to bring you this content. What a great day of boxing. Great cards, great action. And we had a few upsets. I mean, it was very enlightening and engaging. All the things that we want out of our beloved sport of boxing. So I appreciate everything. So I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.